Towson Baltimore Wizards fan, and certainly the Ravens taking on the Eagles this weekend downtown. But the Terps have a little downtime right now. I thought it'd be a good time to get one of our old friends here. No one covers the Terps longer or better than Bruce Posner. He's at terptalk.com. You can learn more there as well as out on Twitter. Bruce, first off, man, happy holidays to you. It is a good time if you're a Terps fan to take stock and say, hey, they're 11-1. There's been some things that could improve, but it's nice to have a week off and a little homecoming up here in Baltimore next week, right?
Yeah, I agree. It's a little disappointing that they haven't dented the ratings, Nestor, at 11-1. It's really not their fault that they beat a Georgetown team that was supposed to be a top 25 team and then fell away. They beat two Big 12 teams, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, in a great game. And, you play 11 games and you win 10, or you play 12 and you win 11. It's not the end of the world, and yet they can't dent the ratings. And Turgeon would never say that bothers him, but something tells me, knowing him, it is bothering him.
Well, I would say you got plenty of time to go out there and prove yourself. And at the end, if they're in the tournament, they'll get a chance to prove their mettle. But I'm in agreement with you. And I looked at the schedule, Bruce, in the beginning, and I thought, well, this isn't as treacherous as it's been in the past, right? I mean, we've seen all of these top dogs take on some other teams, whether it's in Hawaii or Puerto Rico or Alaska. We've seen all of these early things. It felt like this year that the Terps and Turgeon wanted to be a little easier around this. The Barclays thing notwithstanding, not the same kind of travel. And, I think to some degree he knew we'd be breaking in a lot of young players this year. And so far, so good. I think it's been a good confidence builder for them. And I think even struggling in some of these lesser games has allowed other guys to play. And I think Turgeon's learned a lot about these guys over the last 6 weeks, right?
Turgeon's done a great job getting this team ready. You got to remember, Nestor, almost every game you have three freshmen playing 25 to 30 minutes at least. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to, 2 games in 2 days is going to affect them. 3 to 5 is going to affect them. And yet, they find ways to win. They just find ways to win. I love the team. We got that big game in Baltimore coming up next week and against the good Charlotte team. And then the big, and then the real season starts. Almost like a preliminary, until we ask Conor McGregor. This is just happening. And yeah, I would have liked to see maybe one more really tough game in the mix, maybe a Villanova or the ACC won't play us, so that's a problem.
Last year, I was going to say, was North Carolina. You know what I mean? They had that big game. They had a big game against Georgetown last year, too. And those were sort of signature early season games, but they're going to have plenty of chances to have signature games here. And as you know, this Big Ten thing's a lot different than the ACC. The times they play, the ways they play, the kind of travel they have to do, the places they have to go. This is a tougher road in a lot of ways for these young guys to have their schedules adjusted than it was easy to just run down to Raleigh and get back after the game,
Yeah, and you spend a lot more time traveling, obviously, but Turgeon has figured it out. We've had 2 great seasons in the Big Ten. I think last year we were 12-6, the first year 14-4. For a newcomer, I mean, look how Rutgers is doing. They can't get out of their own way in just about all the sports in the Big Ten, and yet Maryland is dominating in so many, just outside of basketball and football. Football, they're far from dominating. That's another story for another day. But when you look in the other sports, as far as soccer goes and lacrosse, they continue to dominate. And all in all, it's been pretty good. But we know that it seems like basketball is the straw that stirs the drink. And we need to make that next step. Sweet 16 last year. Is this team capable of more? Nestor, I can't tell you right now. I know that this kid, Justin Jackson, is absolutely fantastic, just beyond all my comprehension. And the kid Herder, the redheaded kid, when he really is more comfortable with his shot and looking for a shot, he's going to be a tremendous help. And I think we'll do well in the Big Ten again. You got 2 fairly easy. I don't like to use that word because no game has been easy for this team. But with Illinois and Nebraska, that's 2 teams. Maryland should get off to a 2-0 start. toward the end of the year, and then they head out to Michigan.
Well, I mean, you talk about getting ranked and getting to be in that conversation. They see Michigan on the 7th and Indiana on the 10th. At that point, by the time they get to Indiana, there's a legitimate chance they could be 15-1, right? I mean, legitimately, right?
It reminds me of the people who were talking that the Maryland football team could have been 7-0. You know, you got to play them. You got to play them one at a time.
It looked good after Purdue, though. It really did. I mean, if they could have just stopped the season that day, right?
Well, you know, that schedule. You know, Nestor, it's a tough division to be in.
Yeah.
I hope that the Big Ten goes back to a 12-team or 14-team division, and the mix is better. But when you're playing those monsters every year, we've got a long way to go. In all fairness, these are teams that make $40-50 million a year in their football program, and Maryland is like they're on the precipice of like starting to make money. It's a big separation. A very big separation.
Well, and that was the step up that everybody was concerned about. And quite frankly, when you go and you beat Michigan and you beat Penn State in football, you start to think, well, maybe we can play here. And Michigan just retools. Ohio State's incredible. Penn State got locked out this year. I mean, can you imagine when James Franklin went and took that gig when they're burning down the statues of Paterno there and they got, lawsuits flying everywhere and problems happening up there? The thought that Penn State would be able to climb back into this quickly, I saw it as a sleeping giant, but I thought they were going to stay asleep a little longer, Bruce.
Let me tell you something. I mean, as much as I dislike Penn State, you got to really hand it to James Franklin. First of all, I really believe as a Big Ten fan, they got robbed. I really do. When you beat Ohio State and then you win the Big Ten championship, how can you be denied a place in the Final Four? It makes absolutely no sense to me as to what happened. But all that being said, Ohio State's a great team, but they lost to Penn State. And what Franklin did there was unbelievable. And to run the gamut, to run the table like he did, and then to win the Big Ten tournament, hats off to him. Now he faces a tough USC team. And, of course, Maryland's heading to the Detroit Bowl. Nasty, I have to tell you, Maryland played at a bowl 20 years ago.
I remember the Cherry Bowl. My buddies and I almost got in a car. You know the reason we almost went, Bruce, is honest to God truth. I think it was like a Stan Gelball era. It was like in that era. But the reason we almost went is Walter Payton was playing the next day at the Silverdome. I'm not making that up. Like, we literally thought, and the Colts were gone then, right? I mean, it was 85, 86. They were gone. We thought about two of my buddies over on Kane Street. We almost got in the car and drove to the Cherry Bowl. We didn't, but we thought about it. We really did.
I thought about going, and I just didn't do it, and whatever. And then you get a chance for redemption at the Quick Lane Bowl. But listen, the most important thing about making this bowl, Detroit, so be it. But 15, 16 more days of practice. It's great for recruits. You've seen they picked up some recruits in the past couple days, and overall, I think that DJ has done a super job. Have you gotten the chance to meet him yet, Nestor?
I have said hello very, very briefly, but I have not had real FaceTime with him, no.
Yeah, he exudes energy, and you feel very pumped when you talk to him, and the kids, for the most part, they love him, except, the ones that don't play, but that's always the case. And he's a great guy, and he's going to do wonders. I really have a great feeling about him. But, of course, it's a little rose-colored glasses for me. But I look forward to it as to the future goes. And I love the schedule. How about our luck opening up with Texas next year?
Yeah, I saw that. I started putting my 2017 calendar together, right? So, I filled in my Oriole dates for the spring and the summer. I thought to myself, I wonder who Maryland has on a football schedule. I'm like, Labor Day weekend, they're playing Texas in Austin, Texas. I'm like, wow. Well, it might not be a bad time to go to Texas, right? I mean, that's going to be a whole new era of everything there. They burned that thing down again, right?
Correct. It's starting all over, but... it's a tough game to start with. So now, you got Texas, you got Penn State, you got Michigan, you got Michigan State, you got Ohio State. It's impossible to have a tougher schedule.
Well, we had Nebraska this year, too. Throw them in,
I forgot about Nebraska, but it's tough. And but you know what they say, Nestor, like in wrestling, to be the best, you got to beat the best.
That's a Ric Flair saying. I like that.
Right. And to their credit, though, they have the schedule. Now, Texas comes back the following year to Maryland. Why they're playing in FedEx Field, I'll never know. But they're playing the game in FedEx Field. Baltimore's such a better venue. You know that from a guy who's been to every stadium in the country. Certainly, M&T Bank just is vastly superior to FedEx Field.
Well, and we found that out at the Army-Navy game the other day, right? I mean, it was an incredible – look, it's incredible anytime we get those games here. I mean, Navy played Ohio State here a couple years ago. Any of the downtown Baltimore games have been really, really beneficial for our community. You know, even when U2 comes in and plays, or Kenny Chesney, or Jay-Z and Beyonce, you know, anytime there's something there that's not the Ravens playing, I feel really good about it and being here, you know?
Hey, Calvert Hall Loyola was a great game. I mean, it's an event because it's there.
You know what I find out when I pick a side in Calvert Hall Loyola, I really piss people off on the other side. So I'm from Dundalk. I stay out of that.
Oh, you let me tell you. Well, I'm from Pikesville. You got to stay out of it, right? but you got to love both teams.
That's the way I make enemies all the way around. He is Bruce Posner. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at Terp Talk, as well as at terptalk.com. You know, for the basketball team, Bruce, you know, I've watched the games this year, and the most amazing thing, I think, year to year in watching the Ravens and the Orioles and Pro Sport Capitals is, you know, the Capitals, it's the same core it was last year. The Ravens, same core, you know, minus a Weddle and a Wallace, and they add a few guys. Man, the Terps really turned it over, didn't they? Like, I mean, other than Dodd and Trimble, and this looks like a different version of Trimble to last year, I'm with you. I'm trying to learn Anthony Cowan. I'm trying to learn Justin Jackson. I mean, Tchaikovsky's playing again. We knew a little bit about him. DeMonte Dodd's another guy that we've been waiting to see more productivity out of a couple of these guys. I mean, Wiley with the injury last year. But like you said, oh, who's the redheaded kid? Oh, that's Herder. Who's the other kid, the athlete? Oh, it's a Canadian kid, Jackson. I find that this early part of the year is just sort of a getting to know you, and I think it's probably not all that different for Beto Ranson and for Turgeon to say, I don't know how these guys are going to play together. I just got them on the court together back in October, right?
Yeah, he's had, you know, Jared Nickens has been somewhat of a disappointment. We see a brand new Jalen Brantley, and I'm so happy for the kid. The kid works hard and works his butt off in practice, but last year he just didn't have it. And all of a sudden, he's been the key to a few of the victories. He's playing great. I like the depth. You got to love the guard depth because in the tournament, doesn't it always come down to guards? And Maryland has that guard depth. They can keep coming at you. We need Nickens to shoot a little bit better. We need Wiley to be more consistent, except he's coming off an injury. And the one guy who I think's been the sleeper this year, and I know you watch every game. I see the tweets and everything. It's been Checo, Michael Sikorsky. This guy, 7'1", and he's playing like a guy 7'1".
Well, he couldn't get on the floor last year. They didn't have minutes for a kid like him last year. I mean, they didn't have minutes for the kids they had last year. Let's be honest. They had a lot of talent on that team last year, and it was very difficult to make that work, and I think Trimble wasn't right. I mean, seeing Trimble look right this year, you're like, man, if we had that version of him last year and the parts were better, maybe you win the 16 game, maybe you win the 8 game, but they couldn't get there. But they're going to be hard-pressed to ever have more talent than they had for the 12 weeks that was together last year, right?
Yeah, I agree. But you know what, Nestor? I always have a theory that team last year was based on Robert Carter Jr. and Suleiman. Suleiman is a great kid. Kind of took over the team and put Melo in the shadows a little bit. Add to it Melo's injury, and the team just didn't have that chemistry. And a lot of times when you base your teams on transfers, you don't get that hard core, I'm a Terp kind of guy. It's not the same when guys come in for 1 year.
Oh, it was very obvious those kids were waiting around for the agents to call and the drain. You know, we started the minute they started the wane in February, we're talking about they all had NBA fever, and then they all got their feelings hurt on draft day, right? I mean, literally.
I mean, well, Lehman and Diamond Stone at least got drafted, and they're making money, which is crucial. And all the other guys are in Europe. You saw how many guys, Maryland, how many Terps are in Europe. They're all doing well. But you can't, you know, I think Melo learned the hardest fact that if you don't win in college, you're somewhat overlooked by the NBA. They want to look at winners. They want to look at March Madness and see who leads their team. And if you don't do that, it's a likelihood or a probability that your stock's that high. You look at Gravis. Gravis got drafted in the first round, had, making millions of dollars for 5 or 6 years. Why? Based on a couple unbelievable games in the tournament. Even the game they lost to Michigan State when Gravis scored 10 points in the last 2 minutes. You don't think that did stock for him? You got to win. They want winners. And, if you're 7'1", you're going to be in the NBA anyway. But for the other guys, there's a million guards, Nestor. They all can play. You could pull guys out of the D-League, put them on the floor, and they'll score 15 points. It's not like they can't play. It's a fine line, and that fine line is about winning, in my opinion.
He is Bruce Posner. He's at Terp Talk and TerpTalk.com. You can find him out on Twitter, and anytime the Terps are going, your little turtle pops up on my timeline as well. Bruce, it's great having you on, man. I appreciate the visit. We got a little downtime. I hope to see you down at the arena next week as well, and we'll get this Big Ten thing going, and there'll be no more Jacksonville States to kick around anymore, right? I mean, we're going to get down to no more St. Peter's on the schedule. This is going to get legitimate here real soon.
Nothing. And I want you, when you come to College Park, to let me know, all right? So you can sit next to me. I'll give you a little Terp education, all right?
A Terpification. I like that, man. Great having you on, Bruce. Thanks for the visit, man.
All right, Nestor, thanks for having me.
You got it. Bruce Posner, we joined us out at Buffalo Wild Wings in Owings Mills the other night for the Ravens game. Great to see him, and great to have him on the program. Terp Talk is the way to find Bruce. He's out on Twitter and out at TerpTalk.com as well. You can find me in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Just download the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear from anywhere you are. Morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Still $10 a month. Work off the cookies and the eggnog. We know you're going to need to do that. Last but never least, breaking news happens first on the WNST text service. That's brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And Dennis Colatzos will be here from 3 until 5, driving you home, getting you ready for Thursday Night Football as well as for the weekend games. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.